and the dark fades before the light. It looks like we got it right this morning. Second attempt. I'm sorry for all the trouble we caused you yesterday learning to use this new gadget. But I got one great note I just happened to see this morning when I turned on the phone. And somebody said, now I don't have to crop the pictures to get the horizon on the proper level. Because that's what this gadget does. It won't have skewed pictures. It will always be on the level. And I have to thank Felipe for insisting about this, because I think as a good photographer and technical man, he was very aware of the difficulties that walking. Whoops, what's going on here? Shouldn't sing too soon. Shouldn't sing victory too soon. But now I was able to touch a little trigger here, and it put the phone back in its place. That's interesting, isn't it? There's actually very interesting software that goes with this, but it's incompatible with Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. So you have to do the filming through their software, and therefore I can't use that program to steer the phone's angle, the camera's angle, and focus and all the rest of it. But that's life. It's acting basically as a very sophisticated tripod. It's handheld, so it's like a small little, in a way, a little letter F or something, or an L with the top part of it a little bit skewed off vertical. And now I'm walking. You see, if I even stumble or fall, it doesn't change the level, because of the gravity keeps the phone in its horizontal position, and it's independent to a great degree of my movements. Whereas every little stir I made holding the tripod became a major disturbance of the phone, of the camera and the angle and all that, and you thought you were falling down. So you're going to have a more comfortable armchair ride this morning. It won't be as jerky, hopefully. And it looks like we got the angle right today, so I'm grateful for that. Oh, look at this. Let's check out these guys now that we have this new little apparatus here. So these guys are down here. Look at them, all the ants. One thing they didn't have to do this morning was to read the laws of the land, because they're all, in a certain sense, pre-programmed to work like this. And so they know exactly how to communicate. It all happens automatically. I'm at maximum zoom here, and about a foot, well, about 10 inches above their level. Just imagine how it is down there inside their little home. The crowdedness, and they're all working together to prepare the winter. Look at all this chopping they've done over here. I'm not sure if they did the chopping, but they've got all these little pieces. An amazing reality of communication and life and survival in atmospheres that are, oops, let me go slowly here. Oh, I know what's wrong. I need to just zoom out. You know, that whole principle of when you're moving, get the big picture before you move. There we are. And now we have another reality, not so micro. Let's just take a look at it since we're here. Again, you'll notice the movements are very different compared to... Wow, look at that little one in there. Camouflage in color. That little insect. He's gone into hiding underneath the petal. This big jet plane came down on top of it, so it went into hiding. This one is a little battered here. These are caper flowers, okay? For those who haven't seen them. Oh, very good. I see somebody wrote that note already. So, practice makes perfect, they say. So we're working little by little. So we're a far cry ahead of where we were a year ago when we were doing... Oh, we're already into the third month of live streaming a year ago. Started in March, towards the end of March, and April, May, June. So this is the northwest corner of the Sea of Galilee. And here's Magdala just to the left of the electric pole there. And there is Migdal asleep, waking up. So now I have to get used to the amount I need to move it, because the phone also compensates a little bit apparently. There's Migdal. And then the hills of Lebanon. Our little path. And then I can just see a bare outline of Mount Hairman. It's to the very right there. Now to the center of the screen over that hill, there's a little bit there sticking out, not too much. Come on, go slowly here, man. Oops. I just want to get you Mount Hairman while I'm zoomed in. There it is. You see that little hazy bit there behind the hill. And underneath that hill we have the Mount of Beatitudes there, right there to the right of the dark there. The plastic coverings over the banana plantations. And then we have the sunrise. The sun is a star, 93 million miles away, in case you didn't know. So let's move along. All these good people at work, bringing the supplies we need. And they're up early. How many people are working to supply the needs of our lives? We have no idea. No idea. When I was a child, there were so few because we had neighbors who actually provided everything for themselves. And now there's a worldwide network. The entire planet is working for our needs, where our clothes are made, where some of the food we have for breakfast is prepared, is grown. The people who provide all the transport, the infrastructure, the fuel, the people who provide all the energy, all these lines, the people who provide for our communications worldwide. It's amazing the network we're in, and therefore the need to live together. And when we live together, there are always little bumps and hustles and tussles and tassels and challenges. And so we need to order our life so that we know what to expect when this happens or that happens, or how to behave. For example, just the traffic, on which side of the road do you drive? So it's a big problem for people living all their lives in America. And I'm not sure about Australia, the way you guys do it down there, but in Ireland, it's the other side of the road for the Americans. And that takes an adjustment. No, I want to drive on this side of the road because I'm American. Well, you're in Ireland and there's a different order of the traffic. And that makes a big difference, because when you want to go left at an intersection, it's much easier in Ireland because you can take a left turn. It's right there on your left. It's right there on your left, okay? But in America, you have to be watching the traffic on both sides if you want to do a left turn, because your easy turn is to the right. And that's what we call the traffic laws of the country. And so those crazy Irish making these kind of traffic laws, aren't they crazy? Why didn't they do it the way we did it? And so then we start learning about how different folks have different systems of law. And the word law has a very large presence in human life, because we're a society. And we're not like the ants that we're predetermined. We have this great element called freedom. So we decide for ourselves what to do. And you can even have people who decide to break the law. And you can have a society that's lawless or lawlessness. Not really, because even the criminal bunches have their own laws. And there's very serious punishment if they're broken. Death penalty. Execute that person. All the narco business, all the human trafficking business. No society works without some law. Even the brigands and the highway robbers, they have their own internal law. Even get 5 little children, put them playing on a field. And you say, you make up the rules. So they have to agree how wide the goalposts are, that the 2 goalposts are the same distance apart. That the lines when the ball is out, when the ball isn't out. So even a very early development stage of human life creates laws, law and order. And society changes and the kids grow up, but they never change the law. Well, they have to, because their society changed, so they have to order that. And there are cultural changes and so on. So law has a lot of development. And today law is very much a word used in the readings. And the first thing we need to ponder is, what does law mean? And when we hear the law of Moses, might say, okay, that's the 10 Commandments. And then there were scholars of the law teaching the law already 2,000 years ago, and long before that for sure. So jurisprudence, studies of law, how many people dedicate their lives to that? So law is a big challenge for the human mind. It's a challenge for understanding. It's a challenge for government, for governance. It's a challenge for interpretation of the law, application of the law, and all of that. But in the scripture, the law is used with various meanings. So we have often the expression, the law and the prophets. And those are like 2 major headlines of 2 parts of the Bible. So you have all the prophets. And the law means the first 5 books of the Bible. So it's not just the 10 Commandments. So that's the need then to look at the context and what does this mean when the word law is used. And to know the laws of a country, the laws of driving, that's very important, not to drive on the wrong side of the road. And that law is obviously a decision left to human discretion of those who are competent to promulgate the laws, to formulate them and promulgate them. And we have lawmakers, and they're doing it for the good of the people. That's the principle. They're elected representatives of the people to make the law. And it's very important to pray for lawmakers, because one of the biggest problems with human law is selfishness and self-interest. Like everything, there's family law, there's property law, work law, financial law. 30, 40 years ago, computers weren't playing a big role in the normal person's life, but now there's a lot of laws about computers. There are even a whole bunch of laws of how ketchup are made in the United States. That's very interesting. Laws governing the sowing of the tomatoes, the types of fertilizers, the type of process for harvest, because it's food for the human being, so there's a responsibility, there are principles laid down. And it's not easy to change those laws if they're discovered to need change. It takes a lot of consensus building. So that's law originating within the human community by the competent authority. But when we have revealed law, then it's the law that God gives us in our very creation. So we can continue talking about this a lot today. Just read the two readings and you'll see there's a lot there. It's a lot to explain. And this is just a little introduction, as we'll be meeting the word law many times. And so I put in a link for you. By the way, the old links are still there from last week, so I'll take them out for tomorrow's post if you still want to see them there about marriage, about the Eucharist. They're very substantial links. And then the ones I gave you today, the link on the law, I actually gave you a little bit of the structural, the sense of the treatment in the catechism. It's a very systematic way and it's easily accessed. And so I gave you a summary, a link to the summary part. But when you go into that link, you'll find a previous and an after. And just scroll back on the previous to the previous to the previous, and you'll get to the beginning of it, or just go to the original link, and then you can get the complete overview. Original link of the section. It's chapter 3 of section 3 of the Catechism. And that's all talking about life, because law is for life, like the law of the road is for life. So we don't have people killed when people drive on the wrong... Oops, something went wrong here, people. Bear with me. Wow. Oh, I know what happened. I think I know what happened. Just bear with me. I'm going to have to detach from the apparatus. And the reason is the battery ran out on this gadget. So just bear with me a moment. Hey, you guys are still there. I'm not sure what you saw in the meantime, but anyway. Here we are. So delighted you're still there. And I think it's time to say goodbye anyway. So I just gave you the links for an important introduction about the law, that the law is for life, for an ordered life in our society. And then it's given by the human lawgiver, but it's also given by God. So there's revealed law and natural law. And so let us get into that a little bit and understand why our society is the way it is and how it should work and then the big challenges of accepting the law or not accepting the law. And obviously when God becomes flesh and dwells among us, then there is a whole new reality happening and a greater light about law. And so therefore we see the law of the old covenant and the law of the new covenant, which is the greatest law. It doesn't mean that the other laws aren't important. Oh, to love your God above everything and your neighbor as yourself. So there's a lot to chew on here, people. I wish you many blessings, and see you later, alligator.